everybody, and welcome back to Lindsay's Little Library. So I'm here today with my September wrap-up. Talk about all the books that I read in September. It's a decent month. I really wanted to get more series books read. I didn't quite get to it. I did not get to Thunderhead. I'm sorry, Nicole, because she's been wanting me to read that forever. I still have the series books that I picked just kind of sitting down here as possibilities. It's kind of my shelf of possibilities. I need to rearrange some stuff back here. So it is what it is. I still read 8 books. Like it was a good month. It was a good month. So I can't fixate on that too much. So the first book I want to talk about is one I actually picked up for my mom and then she gave to me and said, you need to read this. So it's Mitch Albom's newest book called The Stranger in the Lifeboat. If you're not familiar with Mitch Albom, he's an author who tends to give us some sort of interesting story with a Christian twist to it. So in this case, kind of answering the question, what if God did answer your call? Would you recognize him? Would you do what he's asking you to do? What would happen? And so it follows a group of survivors in a lifeboat after the boat they were on explodes, and realizing that someone in the boat is claiming to be God. And what would you do? What would you do? So it talks about what these people do. I gave this one 3 stars. It's a fine story. It just didn't blow it out of the water for me. Oh my. I mean, it definitely made me think and I enjoyed it. And it was a quick read. Just easy. 3 stars. It was fine. The next book I read was an arc I had. It's called Blood and Silver by Valley Benson. This is one I got off of NetGalley a while ago. It's been sitting on my Kindle for too long. I started reading it a long time ago. It was one of those I just kind of would hop in and out of. I gave this one 2 stars. It kind of takes place in the Old West. It is about a girl and her mother who moved to Tombstone with the brothel that her mother is working for. The daughter really is trying to get her mom to kind of shape up, kick her addictions, kind of make something of herself. It was fine. It is part of a series. It's the first book in the series. I don't think I will be picking up any more of them. Just the writing wasn't great. It got a little boring, a little confusing, a little unbelievable. But I read it and it's checked off the list. We'll take that. The next book I picked up was at the urging of a number of y'all, specifically Sarah and Audrey were talking about this, and then who else? Somebody in my book club maybe read this. So I was finally like, I just have to read it because it sounds unbelievable, and it is. The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. This book is insane. This book is insane. This book is one of the only books I know that comes with a warning label right at the beginning. And you must read the warning label, and you must not go further if any of this is triggering, because Ashley Winstead takes us to the edge and over it at times. So how do we describe this? We have our main character, Shay. I'm making sure I'm not going to spoil anything because her and her best friends met a very captivating man when they were in school. And they got a little too close to him. And it was a gradual, interesting relationship. And by the end of the school year, Laurel and Shay were the only ones who managed to kind of escape this situation they were in. Then we're 8 years in the future. So it's mystery in the future, mystery in the past. 8 years is not too long, but it's long enough. She's built a new life in Texas. She has a new husband. But here's that Laurel has died. And her favorite true crime podcaster is looking into Laurel's death, and Shay decides she needs to investigate some things that may have happened in the past that were buried, yet seem to be coming back because of this podcast, and they're getting unveiled. So she goes to New York to kind of face her past. It's crazy. It is crazy. And I gave it 5 stars. And that's all I have to say. Like, I still think about this book. There are parts that I got a little mad at it, but like, I can be mad at a book. Like, that's good. Like, when a book gets my emotions, like all kinds of all up in my business, isn't that the sign of a good book? It was good. It's a really good October read if you're looking for one. So then I needed to take a little break, and I picked up The Measure. This is by Nikki Ehrlich. This book was one I thought I could go through fairly quickly. This was a book club pick for my work book club. And I started it like a week before the meeting, and I barely finished. No, I didn't even finish on time. I had probably 50 pages left or something, because this is a book that you just need to sit with. Like, I just needed to sit in this concept and what was happening because of what happened. So this basically is set in the not too distant future. And one morning, everyone on Earth wakes up and there's a little box by their door, or by that, like, everybody gets this little box. And inside the little box is a string, and the string correlates to how long you are going to live. This book takes a deep dive into the what ifs. What if you don't look at it? What does your life look like? What if you do look at it and it's super short? What does your life look like? What decisions do you face? What consequences do you face? How do other people look at you? This stirs up all kinds of what ifs that are so strangely parallel to a lot of the what ifs we face in real life. So eye-opening. I think everybody needs to read this book. Everybody. It's amazing. It is 5 stars. This is a fabulous book club book as well. Like, there's no end to the discussions you can have from reading this book together. Highly suggest for a book club. Do it. All right. Then I finally got into some of my series September books. So I picked up Dear Mrs. Bird by A.J. Pierce. I read this and actually was on we had a little discussion show, a little live discussion show on Step Into the Story. I'll put a link below. That was super fun. Oh my gosh. Had a great time with those ladies. But this is the first in a series. This follows our main character, Emmeline. She gets a job, and it's during World War II, during the Blitz in London, which I thought that was a really interesting setting, because you have this entire crazy war going on around you, yet you have Emmeline, who's in her early 20s, still very future oriented, and still, like, she wants to be a journalist, and she gets the opportunity to work at this magazine, thinking she's gonna be able to show up there and be a war correspondent and, like, start making her career in the midst of all this chaos. And come to find out, she's actually just kind of an assistant to this Mrs. Bird, who writes advice columns. And Emmeline doesn't always agree with the type of advice, or even sometimes the refusal to give advice for Mrs. Bird, and decides to try to take things into her own hands. The way this is written, knowing the backdrop is London, while everything's getting bombed out, and she has to face, like, not knowing if her building's going to be there or her work is going to be there. Yet it really is focusing on Emmeline and her own kind of coming into adulthood and facing some very adult decisions in the midst of chaos. I really enjoyed it. What did I give it? 4 stars? 4 stars. I would be interested in going on in this series and learning a little bit more. It was a fairly quick read. As much as a World War II historical fiction can make you feel kind of light and happy, it did. So I really liked it. Then I was listening to Abby Jimenez, Life's Too Short. This is, I think, the 3rd book. So the first one is The Friend Zone, then the Happy Ever Playlist, and now Life's Too Short. You don't necessarily have to read them all in a row. They're more companion novels than a series, but I'm just enjoying the way that they've been written, the order they've been written in. So we have Vanessa Price. She quit her job to pursue her dream of traveling the globe. So she is a YouTube star with millions of followers, and just kind of lives for seizing the moment. Her mother and her sister never lived past the age of 30, and Vanessa doesn't want to take anything for granted. Life is too short in her opinion. Her half-sister suddenly leaves Vanessa in custody of her baby daughter. So she has to kind of put everything aside to care for her niece. Ends up meeting the very attractive lawyer that lives next door, Adrian. And Adrian ends up kind of falling in love with this baby, really connecting with Vanessa. But Vanessa has made it very clear she's not in any sort of position to be in any sort of a relationship. And Adrian can't quite figure out why. There's also a dog involved. There is a geriatric chihuahua named Harry Poppins, because Abby Jimenez has a dog in every one of her books. And oh my God, that Harry Poppins is the most adorable name. But the banter that Abby Jimenez can write between characters is like, it is perfection. There is no like, yeah, there can be miscommunication and there can be some assumptions made, but it's like, I don't know, they're not cheesy like sometimes they can be. Abby Jimenez has a way to like write and just gets right at your heart while you're laughing. So you may be crying on one page and hysterically laughing on the next. And I love that about it. It just, yes, it's a rom-com book, but there's a little bit more to it. And so this one definitely hit it out of the park. So what did I give it? 5 stars. So on to the next one from my friend Abby. Let's see. Then I read Until Friday Night by Abby Glines. This is another first in the series. I want to say it's YA. It reads very YA, so it has to be. We have our main characters, West and what's her name? Maggie. Maggie is new to the school and kind of new to town. She's moved in with her aunt and uncle after she witnessed her father kill her mother. And since that has happened, Maggie does not speak. So she starts meeting her cousin, I think his name's Brady, like his friends, and one of his friends is West. And West is dealing with watching his father die from cancer. So West is having a very hard time, and Maggie and West connect over this horrible thing that they are both going through, to the point that Maggie ends up talking to West and only West. So very good premise. Definitely parts of this where it was just very YA, which like my daughter will love this book. Just for me, I just kind of rolled my eyes a few times because, I'm not YA. So I gave it a good 3.5 stars. It was very timely because my kids are going to football games. I mean, it's football season. I walk the dog and I see football practice. Like, it just kind of fit. So I do have the other 2 books in the series, Under the Lights, and I don't remember what the third one is called. So I'll probably pick them up probably this time next year again, just as more of a seasonal thing. But again, it was fine. And then as a group read, my youngest son's elementary school does a 1 book, 1 community read every year, which is not a new thing. I believe other schools do it too. So this time we did it right when school started. So we read Ways to Make Sunshine by Renee Watson. Here it is, a super cute book about Ryan, this girl who, oh my gosh, she is fierce. She is this little leader. She is bound to live up to her name. And she's kind of facing some challenges. Her parents just moved. Her dad had to get a different job. They're living in a smaller house. It's just, money is a little tighter than it would be. It just, things aren't as it was. And she's in the 4th grade. She has a talent show coming up. She wonders what she's going to do on stage because she doesn't think she has a talent. So it's kind of going through learning that she does have a talent, learning that friends who are really friends are going to stick with you no matter what. It was a really sweet story, very sweet story. We really enjoyed it. Max liked it, which anything to keep his attention sometimes can be hard, but we liked it. I don't really rate the books Max and I read, but I mean, I would say this is probably a solid 3.5. It was good. So we got that. So technically our 8 books read in a month, not too bad. 8 is usually my goal. I'll always take that. As far as what's coming up in October, I am hoping to just get all the creepy stuff in. So I'm currently reading The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. I am so close to finishing that book, and it is lots of creepiness, and I'm loving it. I don't know what else I'm going to be picking up. I have a stack of books. No promises. You know how that is. And we'll kind of see what I read. I don't know. You'll have to stick around. If you have any good, like, creepy books, like I said, I'm looking to scare myself. So leave suggestions below. I will always take those. Otherwise, if you want to chat about any of these books that I've read, leave comments below and like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. And I'll see you next time. Bye.